what I was originally going to talk about in this video, the visual system, I'm still going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it in a bit of a different context. I was originally going to talk about it in the context of how your visual system can change your breathing patterns. I'm still going to talk that a little bit, and I want to discuss that because I believe that the cumulative effects of computer work, which I've been doing a lot of over the past 7 or 8 months since COVID started, speaking too much on Zoom calls, things of that nature, and the stresses and anxieties of COVID life have conspired to change my breathing habits, which led me to live in a state of hyperventilation, breathing too much without even knowing it. I'm going to get to that in a different, and I think that was leading to symptoms of heart palpitations, which are often found in panic attacks. So I'm going to leave that to the side. And what I'm going to do today instead was because I found this really good podcast, and it happened to be with a neuroscientist. It's I can't remember what it's called. It's the podcast itself is called Medspiration. Medspiration, yeah. Now I took a couple screenshots of the clip of the podcast. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but it's going to be in the context of vision, again, forward movement, and anxiety. So I'm going to start with this. I talk a lot about vision and how my visual system was the underlying issue in my very strong patterning, my left eye, my PEC patterning, my rib elevation, my neck not moving, all that stuff, the right torsion. The underlying issue was a visual system that was not working properly. And most people do not have significant visual issues. And I'm not talking about clarity necessarily. The vast majority of what you use your eyes for has nothing to do with seeing clearly. It has to do with positioning your body in space, in the environment, to avoid obstacles so you don't get hurt, and to know where you are in space so you can accurately move forward. That's important to remember. You have to move forward in life without getting hurt. So that's what your visual system is used for. That's why you need clarity, so you don't bump into things. Seeing clearly by itself is irrelevant in a way. What do you need your eyes for? You need them so that you can move forward and avoid obstacles and not trip and move forward not being harmed. So I'm just going to show you. You're going to see this. Okay, this is a screenshot from a neuro-optometrist journal. So you'll see where the red is around. This person was writing about something called a base down prism. Now, I got a base down prism last August, like a year and a half ago, or a little over a year ago. I got the base down prism in order for my brain to sense the ground come up. And that's what the base down prism did. And sometimes it's used in PRI by the optometrist who works with PRI out in Nebraska. Because someone who has been ungrounded for so long, they're moving away from the earth. And sometimes their visual system has adapted to that. So they feel like, their brain thinks they're walking down a hill the whole time, so they stay arched. By bringing the ground up through the visual system, your brain senses the ground and it can relax and decompress. And that's what I experienced immediately. The moment they put those prisms on me with the proper prescription, I was able to reach forward, stand on one leg, reach forward and touch my opposite foot without any back tension whatsoever. The back tension went away immediately. So this optometrist, whoever wrote this, he wrote about base down prisms. Almost all patients reveal that their chest seems expanded and breathing is deeper and easier. In weaker doses, base down prism therapeutically aids the esophoric, which means esophoria is when your eyes are moved too close together because of muscle issues. So it reduces that esophoria which reduces convergence. Now, that's the important word here, convergence. Convergence is when your eyes move closer together, okay? It reduces convergence and therapeutically aids the esophoric reducing convergence and overextended stressful patient. Overextended, that's a great word. I don't know if he was using it in terms of extension, like the PEC pattern, but stressful patient. Younger patients report rapid improvement in relaxed feelings, stop thumb sucking, and improve visual acuity without the aid of compensatory lenses. So, by using this base down prism, their eyesight got better. How could that be? Well, a lot of people, when they're on a PRI program, their vision gets better. But it doesn't really get better, I don't think. I think it just goes back to what it would have been if they weren't in this extended posture. But again, I want to go back to convergence. What do you do if you're sitting at a computer all day? You're converging your eyes. In order to see up close on a computer or reading, whatever you're doing, but generally we're probably looking at a computer. You have to bring your eyes closer. So you're converging your eyes continuously. And that becomes, and the more you converge your eyes, it's in the literature, the more you converge your eyes and stare at screens close up, the more tension you get in your neck. That's not a PRI concept, although it's well known, but you can find that on PubMed. If you did a search for, computer usage and neck tension and eyes moving closer together, converging, you'll find something will pop up. So the more you're on a computer during the day, the more your eyes are going to move close together, the more tension is going to rise. The more your neck gets over tense, you're going to start to use it to breathe. It's going to be overactive. The SCMs, the upper traps, all these muscles are going to start to tighten, and it can very easily pull your rib cage up, extend your lower back, and now you lose your diaphragmatic activity. And I made a video about sitting that talks about the same thing. When you're seated, it's hard to breathe normally and not using your neck because of the sitting position. But now add computers into the mix, and the fact that your eyes are constantly working close together, converging, tension increasing, and you've got a recipe for disaster, extension-related disaster. Now, what's the big deal? Well, when you are tense, what is PRI? PRI is tension management. It's not about the left glute medius and the left adductor and the left hamstring and the right glute and expanding the rib cage. It is about those things, but those things are in a way secondary, because you could try, and this is the story of my life, you can try to activate those muscles all you want, but you can do all the techniques in the world. But if you are constantly stressed out and tense from whatever it is, from life itself, or from constantly converging your eyes and doing too much close-up work, or having a visual system that's not corrected and it needs correction, you can do all those techniques in the world and they might have some effect, but I think you'll be limited. Well, I know you'll be limited. Now, this brings up this other podcast that I found, and it's great because this guy is correct. So I'm going to bring up the first. No, that's not the one. Sorry. Okay. So look, it says overcoming anxiety. Forward movement is associated with a suppression of the fear response. Forward movement, walking, running, whatever, bicycling, forward movement is associated with a suppression of the fear response and an activation of what you could call the courage, I don't know, it gets cut off, but something about the courage response. Okay. Forward movement decreases anxiety. All right, let's just start with that. All right, now, picture number 2, screenshot number 2, or number 1, overcoming anxiety. So self-generated optic flow reduces anxiety. What is optic flow? Optic flow is when you're moving forward and the world is moving past you. That is flow. Optic flow is the perception of the world moving past you as you're moving forward. That is normal human locomotion. That is how humans move forward. And if we don't notice the world moving past us as we move forward, your brain has no reference for what you're doing. If it's only noticing optic flow on one side, like on the right side, which happens when you're in the pattern and you drop off the left side because you stop using your left peripheral vision, well, guess what? You're never going to get to that left side. You can do all these techniques in the world, but until you can reestablish left periphery and optic flow, it's not going to work. Now, again, most people don't have this issue, but I think that it will be growing. This issue, this loss of optic flow, is going to increase because of because of COVID life, because of tension levels already being up, and because of more and more computer work and staring at screens a lot. The more you bring your eyes together, that becomes your habitual way of using your eyes. Doesn't mean you have a visual problem. You have a habit of using your eyes incorrectly. You stop using distance. You stop using the periphery. Your eyes over-focus. And if you over-focus your eyes, you lose sense of the world. But if you defocus your eyes and nice and relax your eyes, the periphery will come back into your awareness. So he's saying self-generated optic flow reduces anxiety. So you have to notice the world passing by you as you're moving forward. And we know we're going to be challenged on the left more so than on the right. Pick 2. Overcoming anxiety, getting out and running or biking or swimming and being in self-generated optic flow. And it has to be bodily movement. Sitting in a car is not the same thing because you're not moving. Okay? So again, just means you have to be moving. And so what does this all mean? Forward movement reduces our anxiety at a basal level, at a brain level. Now, this is all well and good, but the problem is this. So, you got to relax your eyes. If you're on the computer a lot, you have to take time out of your day after every 20 or 30 minutes, get up and move around because you got to move. You need to relax your eyes, kind of maybe sit back. I do this quite often now. I sit back and I just kind of defocus my eyes and notice the periphery. You can do that inside, you can do it outside, but you got to start doing it. Wearing computer glasses, I would highly recommend, even if you don't need a prescription, I would highly recommend using computer glasses for a variety of reasons. One, to protect against the glare, eye stress, glare, and blue light, but also because when you put glasses on, when you're staring at a screen and everything in your world becomes very narrow, your visual field becomes very narrow. So you have kind of one visual field right here, and it's right because I'm staring at a computer, I'm staring at my phone, everything comes close. That becomes your habitual way of using your visual system. Doesn't mean it's clarity, just you're using your visual system up close and everything gets narrow and becomes one. The moment you put a round frame on, it now frames your visual system into 2. Now you have a distinct right and left. And I've done this before. I did it with myself. I got a friend of mine neutral just by putting a frame, no lens. She had a pair of sunglasses. She took out the lens, just put frames over her eyes and walked, came back. Her tests were completely neutral. Why? Because instead of converging her vision, these frames diverged her visual system, brought the periphery, made it alive again, and her body relaxed. And that's the thing, the tension dropped. So if you're on a computer all the time, which so many people are now, you have to protect your eyes. You have to get your eyes moving around. You have to get outside and see distance, see the periphery. The more up close you do, your tension level is going to go up, your neck's going to tense. It's going to alter your breathing habits, which I was going to get to originally, but I'm going to change that I'm going to move that to a different video. It's going to change your breathing habits. Tension's going to go up. Your patterns are going to be back in motion. This left AIC, right BC, right TMCC pattern is going to turn on again because your tension levels are going up. Okay. Now, what does all this mean? In regards to forward movement, it's great that this guy knows that forward movement lowers your tension levels and your anxiety levels and lowers the fear response. This is the issue. Knowing that is not enough because he doesn't know, because he'll just say, you got to exercise, you do. But what if you're already patterned and thus unstable because you've been in a pattern for so long, and you're in a pattern that's preventing non-compensatory movement. So basically, all right, great, this means I'm going to walk because walking forward is good for you, which it is. But what if you're patterned, so you're so patterned that all your walking forward is compensatory? Then moving forward isn't really going to change a whole lot because everything you're doing is already compensatory and based on tension. So whatever you do with your eyes has to be incorporated into proper stability and non-compensatory movement, which is what PRI is, walking and breathing. So that's why getting glasses for somebody is not enough quite often. It needs to be, they still need to do something like PRI in order to get their movement to become normal again, to become non-compensatory, to get their breathing to be non-compensatory. Getting glasses by itself is not going to do that. So he is correct. All his research is saying you got to be able to move forward to reduce anxiety. You got to exercise, yes. But if you're patterned, moving forward by itself may not reduce a whole lot because you're patterned, you're already tense. And until you learn how to move forward without compensation and breathe without compensation, that forward movement that should reduce your anxiety and tension may not, probably won't. And so again, I just want to then show one more picture, and this is what it's all about. I posted this a while ago on Instagram. If you look at me, I'm on my left leg. My weight is shifted to the left. My left shoulder is lower than my right. You'll see a word, it says ground with the arrow pointed down. You'll see above that left AFIR and left COA. That just simply means I'm shifted into my left hip. I've got my left ribs compressed, my left rib cage compressed. I'm on my left leg. And see the arrows for space. I've opened up my left peripheral vision. I'm using it. That's what allows me to get to the left. If you can't use left peripheral vision, not that you would know, your body weight will not shift to the left. You will not be able to turn on your right glute very well. You will not be able to turn on your left hamstring, your left adductor, your left glute medius very well. And then if you look on the right side, you'll see air with the red circle around it. You have to be able to get air in that right upper chest wall for you to be able to get to your left side. So all these components, the big three, sensing the ground through the left heel, proper position of the pelvis and rib cage, okay? Space, left space mostly, but peripheral space in general, and air into the upper right chest wall. If those components aren't there, nothing's gonna change. Now, all of that is built into PRI techniques at one level or another. But some people, without directly manipulating those aspects of these techniques, and this is what takes years to understand and get good at, you can do all the PRI techniques in the world. And it for a lot of people, for a number of people, that's not going to change the situation because you don't know how to manipulate their sensory input. That's all I do on Zoom. Every time, I never tell someone to feel their left hamstring. I never tell someone to feel their left adductor. I am manipulating their sensory input and what they feel on the inside of their body and what they're aware of through their left heel and their right arch and their left peripheral vision. I'm bringing awareness to all these things so that they can feel the muscles that we want them to feel. But I never say, hey, let's try to feel your left hamstring. That's not how it works. I'm doing all of this. I'm getting air into the right side. I'm manipulating their sense of the ground on the left side and the right side. I'm manipulating their sense of where their pelvis is, where their rib cage is. They have to acknowledge it. If they can't acknowledge it and sense it and feel it, the outcomes are not as good. So the biggie, though, remember, is vision. Now, most people don't have a big issue with vision. It's a very small percentage. But I do fear that a lot of people, because we're so now dependent on computers and phones and screens in general, that we're doing so much close-up work that a lot of people's tension levels are rising and they're feeling their pain a little bit more, or their pain is coming back when it wasn't before because of all this close-up computer work. You're losing that periphery, and the more you bring those eyes together and the tension in your body rises, the more you may go back into your pattern. So if the moral of the story is protect your eyes. If you think you don't need to wear your glasses, I mean, fine, but just realize you might be doing something, you might be unwittingly setting yourself up for pain and discomfort that no one's going to change, because your eyes will overrule everything you do. And I think that is where I'm going to end it. Hopefully that made sense. Highly recommend computer glasses, even if you don't need a prescription. I highly recommend frames, kind of wider, rounder. For a lot of people will probably benefit from that, because it just makes the visual fields more obvious. And I did that with my niece. She was back from college. She was very stressed out today. And I said, let me test your neck, because she said she was really stressed out because she's still doing homework. But she was wearing her computer glasses, no prescription, and she tested completely neutral. And I know from the past, under normal circumstances, she would not have tested neutral. So I think that the computer glasses that she wore was having that effect. That gave a little bit more divergence of her visual system, so her tension wasn't quite so high. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you liked it, please like it, comment, share it, subscribe to the channel, do whatever you gotta do. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.